So a lot of the older people that were the more seasoned drug dealers that have been out there for countless years are actually getting apprehended due to the uptick in law enforcement. So what they've resorted to now is, having underage children actually sell the products for them, which is again playing on San Francisco's heartstrings, right? It's playing upon the judges and the prosecutors' heartstrings. They're hoping, these people are pretty sophisticated that are selling this poison, and they are hoping that these young children can go out there and sell it under the radar. And then if they do get caught, they're just going to go to the juvenile system and not get deported or not do a serious federal time. So it's a dirty tactic, and it's sad to say that these people are actually, putting children's future, in jeopardy. They're putting their profits before the children's future, right? And a lot of these kids, sadly, they don't know no better. And a pretty large demographic of them are undocumented. They've migrated here from other countries, and they don't really know anything different. So they're arriving here in America, and then some adult is saying, well, here, take this fentanyl, sit here on this corner and sell to these drug addicts, these Americans, and don't ask any questions. And if anything happens, don't tell on us or else, And so it's kind of unfair, and it's poisoning the youth. I've seen it myself. I've seen a 16-year-old girl. She couldn't weigh more than 100 pounds, but she has 3 grown adults around her, purchasing fentanyl or methamphetamine from her. And it's kind of bizarre for me. I was in that lifestyle, and you would never see somebody of that caliber be able to sell drugs in that setting. You would not be able to see that. So it tells you the one thing: either she has protection from entities such as the cartels or the Hondurans or the El Salvadorian gangs that have came here to set up shop here in San Francisco. It's either the protection or it's this new phenomenon of drug addicts that we have, which it could be a little bit of both. This new phenomenon of drug addicts that we have are really debilitated because of the fentanyl. It has sapped all of the energy out of them, and because of the policy that we set in place, there's no need to take the drugs from that 16-year-old girl. Any one of those people that she's selling to could strong arm her and take the drugs from her. However, because the government here in San Francisco gives these addicts everything they need, they don't feel the urge to have to take from the dealers anymore, because they can steal things from the store without repercussions and resell it to get money. They can go down to the GA office and get their money, and that will suffice them for their whatever whatever duration that lasts, right? To keep getting high. They have so many different outlets. They have free food that it's become toxic charity. You've given these individuals everything that they need. You've given them everything they need to just continue down this path of drug addiction. You give them free pipes, you give them free needles. So in actuality, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything to jeopardize their homeostasis of being in a drug addiction. So they're not going to steal from the drug dealers anymore. It used to be, that to sell drugs, you used to have a little bit of grit, a little bit of muscle. You used to have to be a little bit of, you couldn't just be out there with no protection, because the drug addicts were desperate and they were low on money, and they didn't have any other option. So they would try to rob the drug dealers. Right. I've been almost, I've been victim of it, and I've victimized people in the same token. So I've been on both sides of the spectrum. But if I was an addict right now in the streets, I wouldn't have to do any of that because there's just really no need to. You don't have to take a big risk. You can just do all this little petty stuff that has no consequences here in the city and just keep using. So the higher ups, the people that are selling drugs or controlling the drug market in San Francisco know this, so they know that they can put this little 16-year-old girl out there and she can get money all day and fly under the radar, because who's going to expect that this young girl is actually selling drugs, right? I almost couldn't believe it. When I walked past her, I'm like, wow, they're really out here just selling drugs. They're in the first of the month when people are getting those GA checks and think business is booming. I would say that they're making a couple thousand a day. And that, to me, is one of the main reasons why we continuously see these individuals from other countries migrate here to sell this poison, because they've never generated that much money. Even if they came to America and got all the benefits and got a minimum wage job, here in a sanctuary city, they still wouldn't see that much money. So it's hard to deter them from doing what they're doing when it's generating that much income. So that's why I think Proposition F is in theory is a really good idea. Proposition F, how it's written, is going to require addicts to seek treatment and do drug screening tests. That would work in theory if we have the resources and if we have the manpower to do it. But sad to say that this harm reduction model that the city and some of the health department have stood behind have made it so difficult to get these individuals to agree to stay into an abstinence-based program. So it's like conflicting. There's conflicting arguments and theories about sobriety and about drug addiction here in the city. So it's making it so difficult because you can't get funding for just abstinence-based programs as much as you can for like something like a navigation center, like the place I worked at, which was the Billie Holiday, which didn't have any requirement of sobriety. It was a navigation center, and that they could go out and use drugs and come back to the facility and still be high. So I don't know how the drug screening is going to be shared with the GA office to determine who will qualify for the benefits and who won't. But I think what it does is it opens up a conversation about where we're going as a city and what we're willing to tolerate. Right now, as it stands, we were tolerating just somebody coming in there, dragging themselves in, not mentally stable, definitely on drugs and living on the streets, and has, no intention to get sober at all, and coming into the general assistant office and just getting $800 or $900, whatever it is, a month without question, which is unconscionable and irresponsible on the state and the city level. You can't just continue to give people money so they can kill themselves with drugs. If you're giving them that money, it's general assistance, meaning it's supposed to help them, get back on their feet. It's not supposed to be something, that's for such a long duration and with no oversight. Why I'm vocal about it? One is one of the major driving factors is that my cousin died from fentanyl poisoning, and so I really that drug has a special place in my gut that I just can't stand. Two is that I love San Francisco, and I grew up here, and I would like to see it bounce back to the great city that it was. Um, and third, I myself have changed my life around, so I know it's possible. I wouldn't speak on these topics if I didn't think it was possible. This is quantifiable. You can look at me and say, okay, this person was a drug addict. He was a drug dealer. This happened to him, and he changed his life around. It's possible, but people can't. It's not easy. It's possible, but it's not easy, and we can't allow people to manipulate the system to allow them to stay on the streets in their drug addiction stupor. We have to hold them accountable, and that's what's going to change it. So I just want to see more people, walk the road to recovery and become a success story, kind of like I have been. So I've kicked up a lot of dust here in San Francisco, documenting the drug crisis that's going on, the homeless crisis that's going on. A lot of politicians just ignore me. However, there has been some politicians that reached out to me. Daniel Laurie, who is running for mayor this election season, has reached out to me, and we walked the Tenderloin and talked about the challenges and different different objectives that we both kind of see eye to eye with. I've also met with Brooke Jenkins, which is she's a district attorney for San Francisco, who has done, for the most part, a pretty good job in prosecuting a lot of the drug dealers here in the city and kind of tried to keep people accountable.